All right, we've got questions about trekking poles, guidebooks, and giving up. This has to do with when you're on the Camino. Hi there, I'm Linda G. Robert. I'm your Back in the Groove Again coach, and travel agent with Travel Only. I've walked 2 Caminos so far, the Del Norte by myself and the Central Route starting in Porto with a really, really good friend. So here's question number 1. Do I need trekking poles? Well, in my opinion, trekking poles are a game changer. They were for me, they were for my friend, and they are for many walkers on the Camino. And here's why. They reduce the strain on your knees, especially on steep climbs and descents. They improve balance, which is really helpful on uneven terrain, on rocky paths, or when crossing streams. They can also help to redistribute your weight, so making your walk feel easier, especially if you're carrying a heavy backpack. And they do double as support for stretching during breaks. Now, that said, using trekking poles is a personal choice, of course. Some women love the extra stability, while others find them unnecessary. Now, if you're unsure, try them out when you're training, and that way you'll know, right? So you have to try them during your practices, and that way you'll know. Now, you might want to consider collapsible poles. That's what my friend, who was initially reluctant to bring them, but I told her, no, bring them. If you don't need them, you won't need to use them. So she decided to buy the collapsible poles, lightweight and really easy to pack when they're not in use. And here's an extra tip for you. Make sure to learn proper techniques to avoid wrist strain. You want to adjust the poles so your elbows form a 90-degree angle when you're holding them. All right. Question number 2. Should I bring a guidebook or rely solely on my phone? So guidebook versus phone. Both options have their strengths, and many pilgrims actually use both. A guidebook offers valuable insights into local history, which is really fun, or cultural landmarks if you're a history buff, and spiritual reflections too. And it's also comforting to flip through pages without having to worry about battery life, especially when you're taking a break. Now, smartphone apps like Camino Pilgrim and Buen Camino provide real-time maps, which is one thing that I really loved, accommodation details as well, and route updates, perfect for quick references. So here's a few tips. You want to always download offline maps in case you lose service, because that could happen. You might not have service. You might, have a dead battery or close to being dead. And it's nice to occasionally unplug and immerse yourself in the Camino experience. So, it is your Camino, it's your experience. Whatever you choose is right for you. I had my phone. I did not have a book. I found the apps were useful for me. But once in a while, actually more often than just once in a while, I didn't use the app. I just relied on those yellow arrows. Now, when I doubted, I wasn't sure if this yellow arrow was actually pointing in the right direction, or sometimes there were actually 2 directions, I always checked the app just to make sure. And it's always, safer when you're using the app too, or when you're using a guide, and that way you're on the right route as well. All right, question number 3. What if I feel like giving up halfway through? Or what if I don't feel like walking? Right, so let me start by saying completely normal. It's normal. Almost every pilgrim faces really tough moments for different reasons, right? Whether it's physical fatigue, or maybe blisters, or mental exhaustion, or emotional overwhelm. It's all part of the journey. So When this happens, just take a nice deep breath, stop walking, pause, and reflect on why you started this journey. So go back to your big why question. What is this all about for you? Then you take it one day at a time, or even one step at a time. Break the Camino into manageable chunks. Lean on your Camino family, the fellow pilgrims that you're meeting along the way. They are incredibly supportive because they understand what you're going through, right? So you want to set small, achievable goals and to focus on reaching the next village, not the finish line. One day at a time. And I said earlier, one step at a time. That's it. That's it. That's all. Give yourself permission to rest without guilt. So don't walk for 20, 30 kilometers when you don't think you can do it. Take a break or stop, find some type of accommodations, right? See, when I walked my first walk, I booked with a company and I knew where I had to go by the end of the day. And there were days that I felt really, really tired. And I wondered the first few days, because the first few days it rained, I wondered, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? I didn't want to continue, but something happened inside me. I kept going, and there were days that were so great, and I met so many wonderful people, and there were so many what I call uh, magical things that happened along the way that I just thought, this is all part of the experience. That was me. That was me. Now, know too that you can also take a taxi. If you think you're just too exhausted to continue, it's not about giving up. Maybe you can just take a taxi to your hotel and then rest. That's it. And then in the morning, think about it. What do you want to do? That's all. One moment at a time. Either way, it's all good, right? Either way, it's all good. The Camino isn't about perfection. It's about the experience, and it's about what you want out of this. That's what it's about. And either way, it's all going to be good, because that's exactly what's intended to happen for you on this Camino. All right. We'll see you on the next video. Take care.